In this video, I will talk about the integumentary system. So integumentary system is skin, also accessory structures of the skin, which can be hair and the glands, different type of glands, and nail. You can see this image start with the skin. The skin has two layers. One is epidermis. So epi means above. This is the superficial layer. This is the one that is visible with the eyes. And then under that you have the dermis, which is a lot thicker. And the dermis has a lot of different structures like hair follicle and hair root. You have the muscle here. I will talk about these ones later. You have different type of nerve endings, and you have different glands that are secreting different chemicals. And you also have hypodermis. So hypodermis is not part of the skin, but usually studied with the skin together. As you can see, the hypodermis has a lot of adipose tissue or fat, and also has some elastic tissue. Is very vascular, and blood supply for the skin is coming from the hypodermis, and then it becomes smaller branches, and here it creates capillaries, and the epidermis, because it's made of epithelial tissue, does not have any blood supply. So starting with the epidermis, epidermis is made of stratified squamous epithelial tissue. There are two types. One is keratinized, the other one is non-keratinized. So the keratinized one is an extra layer of protection because it contains keratin, which is a very hard protein. So it is protecting the body against chemical, physical, and biological agents. The non-keratinized ones, you see it in other parts of the body like esophagus, in the mouth, and rectum, and in vagina. And because it is stratified, so it has multiple layers, and the multiple layer is for protection. The most common type of cell is called keratinocytes because it contains keratin, and the cells are connected to each other by desmosomes. So desmosomes are connecting the walls of two neighboring cells, and that is keeping the cells together. So again, that's important for protection. Some nerve endings are there. So one is the free nerve endings. These free nerve endings can be for pain and temperature, and also it can be for touch. And you have another type of nerve ending that's called the Merkel cells, like this one. So this is connected to some nerves, and that's again for light touch and pressure. So let's talk about each layer of the skin. So starting with this layer, stratum basale or basal layer, that is just above the dermis, and they are separating the dermis and stratum basale are separated from each other by like basement membrane. So in this layer, you have stem cells. So new cells are produced here, and then the cells mature, and then gradually the cells are damaged, and finally the cells are dead. So these cells that you see here are totally dead tissue. In this layer, you also see melanocytes that produce melanin, which is a pigment. So when you're exposed to sunlight, melanin is produced and protecting the nuclei of keratinocytes. You also have the Merkel cells, and this is the one specialized epithelial cell that's connected to a nerve, and that is important for touch, so fine touch and pressure. The second layer is called stratum spinosum. So this is a thicker layer of the normal skin, and the organelles are not damaged here. The cell is alive. The nucleus is fine, working properly. It has a lot of pre-keratin intermediate filaments, so that's why making the cells spiky. It also has some Langerhans cells. It's not here in this image, but these are immune cells. So anytime any foreign chemical or a foreign organism comes in contact with the skin, these cells are activated. So these are inflammatory cells and activating other immune cells. And here you can see that melanocytes, when the person is exposed to sunlight, a lot of sunlight, so melanin is produced here and packed in these small vesicles. These are called melanosomes, and they are going upward, and then the melanin here is protecting the DNA or the nuclei of these cells. So without this, the person get DNA mutation and increased risk of skin cancer. Stratum granulosum, because it has granules or vesicles, that's why the name is granulosum. It has keratohyalin granule and lamellated granule because it contains fat or lipids. Here the cells are alive, but the organelles are damaged. And then the next layer is called stratum lucidum. Here the cells are dead, and you can see only in the thick skin. So I will come back to the thick skin. What is the thick skin in a second? And then you have the stratum corneum, and this is the one that is visible with the naked eye. These are totally dead cells. Inside you have keratin, and this keratin is the one that is providing an extra layer of the protection and making the skin harder. So in these two layers, you can see it in the thicker skin. So the stratum lucidum is only in the thicker skin, and also the stratum corneum is a lot thicker. Where do you see that? In an area there's a lot of friction, like palm of the hand and sole of the feet. And then you have the thinner skin, which is in the other parts of the body. So most of the body has thinner skin, and here you do not see stratum lucidum, and the stratum corneum is just a few layers of dead cells. So it's not as thick as the thicker skin. The dermis, as I said before, it's much thicker. It is made of connective tissue. It's strong and flexible. The most common type of cell is fibroblast, but it also has some immune cells, because if there is a damage in the epidermis and any microorganisms, any germs enter the body, then these immune cells in the dermis can fight with those infections. In the dermis, you see the hair follicle and hair root. You have blood vessels there, you have lymphatics there, you have different nerves there. You also have glands, sweat glands are there. These are the sebaceous glands, which are oily glands. So there's different structures in the dermis. There is two layers in the dermis. One is called papillary layer. It's around 20% is below epidermis. So it's made of loose areolar connective tissue. And loose areolar connective tissue, I cover a connective tissue in a different video. And that is made of collagen fibers and some elastic fibers. And in this layer, you also have Meissner corpuscles. Meissner corpuscles are 1 millimeter in size, and they are for light touch and pressure, similar to Merkel cells. The reticular layer is deeper than papillary layer, and that's made of dense irregular connective tissue, so a lot of collagen fibers. And here you have the Pacinian corpuscles or lamellated corpuscles. So this is another name for Pacinian, is called lamellated because it's made of layers. And for the Meissner corpuscle, another name is called tactile corpuscle. So the Pacinian corpuscle is for deep pressure and high grade vibration. The hair, you can see that there's two different parts. One is the visible part, and this is the shaft, and the one that is deeper, you cannot see it, that is the root. So this is the root of the hair. And then there's an area, the deeper part of the root, this is called the hair matrix. This is where new cells are formed, the hair grows from here. And the matrix is connected with hair papilla, and the papilla contains blood vessels. This large area that you see, the papilla and the matrix together, this large area, that is called the hair bulb. And finally, the hair root is covered by an epithelial tissue and a connective tissue, and that is hair follicle. Another structure that you see is called arrector pili muscle. This is a smooth muscle, so it is innervated by autonomic nervous system. And when you feel cold or when you are under stress or scared, anytime when you see any danger, these muscles contract and you get a goosebump. So it will cause erection of the hair. The glands, you have two types of glands. One is called exocrine glands. Exocrine glands drains in a duct, and endocrine glands that drains directly in the blood. So in the skin you have exocrine glands. One of the exocrine glands is called sebaceous gland, and that produces sebum or oil. So this is the sebaceous gland. So this is a diagram that drains in a hair follicle, and here is the actual histology of it, and this is the hair itself. So it drains in the hair, it goes up and then lubricates the skin, so that lubrication prevent cracking of the skin. Is also bactericidal, it means stop growth of bacteria. If the sebaceous gland and hair follicle is inflamed or some bacteria grows in it, then the person gets acne. The other type of gland is called sweat glands. Again, it's an exocrine gland, so it drains in a duct. It produces sweat. Sweat contains 99% water, about less than 1% is sodium chloride and some organic waste products. There are two types of sweat glands. One is called merocrine or eccrine gland, like this one, and that has a duct. It goes directly, drains in the surface of the skin. And then this one, as by the way, you see it everywhere in the skin, especially in the forehead and the palm of the hand. And apocrine gland, you don't see it everywhere. You see it in the axillary area under the arms, or you see it in anogenital area. And these glands are active after puberty, so it's influenced by hormones. And apocrine glands are similar to sebaceous glands. They drain directly in the hair, so it's not everywhere, it's just in a specific area of the body. Nail is also an accessory structure of integumentary system. So starting here, this is the free edge, so it's not attached to anything. And then this part of epidermis connects with the free edge. This area is called hyponychium. And then is the nail body. This area, this is the nail body, or this area that you see is visible. This is the nail body. Under the nail body is the nail bed. Nail bed is made of capillaries, and this is why normally it is pinkish in color. And then this area that is not visible, that is called the nail root. It's not visible. And this another tissue that surrounds the nail root, this that surrounds the nail root, and that is called the nail matrix. So that is the one that's responsible for growth of nail. You also have this structure that's called unula. This is a thickening of the nail, so it's a whitish area at the proximal part of the nail. and these areas are called nail folds. So you have the lateral nail folds, these two, and the proximal nail fold. The proximal nail fold, the skin here grows on top of the nail, and that is called eponychium. So eponychium here, hyponychium here. If you have any question or comments, please write it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please subscribe to this channel because I regularly post new videos.